Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a really fascinating set of sources that blend psychological resilience with strategy, and they pull from some, well, let's just say some unexpected places.
Yeah, specifically principles inspired by Machiavelli.
Yeah.
But our mission here isn't about, political conquest or anything like that.
Not at all.
It's far more personal. I'd even say it's revolutionary for your internal life. The core question is, how do you achieve true, unassailable personal power by getting to a place where you genuinely need nothing from others?
Okay, so let's unpack that. The source material really hits you hard right from the start with this very direct, almost painful question.
It does. It asks, who is the owner of your mind right now? And it just forces you to confront that reality of, your emotional sovereignty. Most of us, I think we assume power is about big actions, loud protest.
Right, making a scene.
Exactly. But the paradox here is that reaction isn't power at all. It's actually the loudest signal of insecurity.
I think we all know that feeling. That moment you snap over something tiny, or you're just obsessively checking your phone after sending a text.
Or road rage takes over.
Yeah, that too. You're basically proving that some small external thing has completely hijacked your internal state. You've just handed over the remote control.
And those are the invisible threads the sources talk about. We confuse engaging in the fight with strength, but really the intensity of our reaction just confirms how weak our boundaries are.
So today we're going to get into the traps of needing validation, why indifference is such a potent weapon, and how certain historical figures mastered this art of detachment.
Not just to rule kingdoms, but, and this is the key part, to govern their own minds.
That sounds like a journey. So where do we start? Let's talk about what the sources call the unwritten law of human power.
Right. This law is, well, it's brutal in its simplicity. The one who needs always bows. Always.
Like gravity.
It functions with the predictability of gravity in human dynamics. If your joy, your sense of self-worth is tied to external approval, a compliment, a raise, you have voluntarily given up your sovereignty.
You've essentially placed the sun of your emotional universe outside of yourself.
Precisely. You become an emotional satellite and you're just orbiting someone else's star. That person, that job, that social group, and that star, it can just burn out and disappear at any moment.
And what's interesting is you weren't forced into it. You adopted that posture yourself.
The moment you decided their opinion was necessary for your well-being. And that leads directly to this powerful metaphor of being a slave to crumbs.
Okay, explain the crumbs. What are they exactly?
The crumbs are the currency of this servitude. They're insidious because they are calculated to keep you right where you are. They're never unconditional love or real recognition.
They're just enough to keep you hooked.
Just enough. They're these tiny, insufficient doses of attention that sustain your hope, but never, ever enough to grant you freedom.
Can you give us some, modern day examples? Because I think they can be easy to miss.
Oh, absolutely. Think about that one vague compliment from your boss after weeks of burnout-level work, and you think, finally, I was seen. Or that one-word text you get after hours of agonizing silence from someone you care about, it triggers this huge wave of relief, but also anxiety. Or, yeah, that single, on a social media post, you spent an hour crafting for approval.
The moment that little dopamine hit comes, you're pulled right back in. Why is that so manipulative, psychologically speaking?
Because the supplier of the crumbs is rationing them like an expert. They give you just enough so you don't give up hope, but never enough to actually solve your dependency. So you're always in this state of anxiety, always seeking.
Always wondering, what do I have to do to get the next dose?
That uncertainty is the mechanism of control.
But hold on, doesn't this level of, independence risk turning into just total isolation? Isn't some dependency healthy, like in a partnership or a community?
That is a crucial distinction. We're not talking about interdependence. Mutual support, affection that's healthy. We are talking about necessity.
The desperate emotional need.
The desperate emotional need that compromises your integrity. The sources are very clear. Need is the strongest chain of the weak. If I need your validation to feel whole, well, that need just became my chain.
And that chain stops me from acting freely.
Completely. The manager who desperately needs their boss's approval can't speak up when the company does something unethical. The partner who needs constant affirmation can't set healthy boundaries. Your need dictates your actions. You become a reflection of what you think they want you to be.
Which is a perfect transition to Machiavelli. We're taking his core political idea that it's much safer to be feared than to be loved, and we're applying it to our own self-worth.
And his reasoning is just so cold and strategic, it's fascinating. Machiavelli argued that love is just a bond of gratitude. It's a social idea that, selfish men will break the second it's inconvenient for them. It's unstable by nature.
Because it relies on goodwill, which is fickle.
Exactly. But fear, he said, is maintained by a constant threat of consequence. It's a self-preservation instinct, and people never abandon it. They might hate you, but they won't cross you.
Okay, so translating this to our personal lives, it's not about making people literally fear us.
No. It's about understanding the vulnerability that comes from seeking that emotional love, that constant validation.
Because if you need my approval to feel good, I can control you.
I don't even need to threaten you. I just need to strategically withhold my praise. I can control your entire emotional state for the week.
The psychological cost of living that way must be just exhausting.
It is corrosive. Your self-worth stops being a fixed internal thing. It becomes what the sources call a volatile stock market.
Wow.
It crashes based on a single comment, a missed phone call. You're constantly looking in the mirror of others to figure out who you are. I'm successful because they complimented me. I'm worthless because they criticized me.
So you're just living in this state of constant representation. You're performing for an audience whose approval is always shifting.
And that anxiety is the engine of the performance. If you stop, you risk losing approval. If you lose approval, the market crashes and your sense of self just evaporates. It's a trap that needs a real strategy to break.
Okay, we need the antidote to this exhausting performance. What's the essential strategy here?
The antidote is strategic indifference. But we have to be really, really precise about what that means. This is not apathy. It is not coldness.
So how do you define it?
It's the ultimate act of emotional self-mastery. It's a conscious decision to build a mental fortress, to make sure that no one else's actions or opinions have any power over your emotional state. It's an intentional withdrawal of your energy.
The sources outline 3 pillars to build this shield. Do not react, do not plead, and do not beg. And it seems like reacting emotionally is the biggest failure.
It is, because your reaction is exactly what the provocateur is looking for. When someone tries to insult you or bait you, they're basically handing you a script. Your emotional reaction tells them their effort worked. It gives them immediate power.
And this is where the weapon of silence comes in.
Silence is the antidote. It disarms them by denying them their ammunition, which is your response. An aggressor just crashes against this immovable wall. Their whole strategy was built on getting a reaction, and when they get nothing, their effort is wasted.
They're just left alone with their own aggression.
Exactly. And this brings us to the idea of the emotional economy. We are literally spending our internal resources every single time we react.
Explain that. Our attention and peace are like capital.
Think of it that way. Every time you get defensive or lash out, you're paying a heady tax. You are giving away valuable energy and focus to people who often don't deserve a penny of it.
You mentioned dopamine vampires. How are they feeding off this economy?
A dopamine vampire is looking for a chemical payoff. The payoff isn't winning the argument, it's the emotional chaos they create in you.
So my frustration is their reward.
Your frustration, your visible anger, that's the fuel they're seeking to feel powerful. When you don't react, you are starving them. Your silence becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own behavior without the drama they wanted.
That makes it sound so transactional. I think we need a practical tool, something the listener can use right away.
This is where the 3-second pause comes in.
Yeah.
It's simple, it's actionable, and it interrupts that knee-jerk emotional reaction.
Okay, break it down.
When you feel that fire rising, that urge to attack back, you do 4 things. 1, physically close your mouth. Just cut off the words.
Good for you.
2, look the person directly in the eyes. 3, count in your head. 1, 2, 3.
And that tiny pause creates the space you need.
It creates the space for step 4. Decide if spending your energy balance on this is actually worth the cost. That 3-second gap is the moment you take back ownership of your mind and deny the vampire their payment.
That's powerful. So we move from indifference as a shield to detachment as something more proactive, something that generates respect.
Yes. Detachment is defined as the absence of need. And again, it's so important to repeat. It is not the absence of love or care. It's the absence of necessity. The law of power here is that when you don't depend on something, you inspire automatic respect.
Need makes you a beggar, but detachment gives you inherent value.
Which is why the detached person always negotiates from above.
Because they're truly willing to walk away.
Absolutely. From a salary negotiation, from a toxic friendship, The person who is genuinely willing to lose the deal or see the relationship end is the one with total control, because their value isn't tied to the outcome.
But I have to ask, if I walk away, isn't that just a form of manipulation, like I'm trying to force their hand?
Manipulation is based on a false premise. Detachment is based on real, intrinsic value. If you know your worth is internal, walking away isn't a threat, it's just an honest assessment. Your value is stable whether they agree to your terms or not.
This feels very tied to the psychology of scarcity.
It is. Constant presence, if it's freely given, is taken for granted. Like air, we only notice it when it's gone. Absence magnifies worth. The sources say disappearing is stronger than arguing.
That's a powerful thought. You retreat without explanation, and it creates this psychological vacuum.
And that vacuum forces the other person to confront your importance. Your silence, your absence makes them reassess their own behavior and the value of your presence. It's very Machiavellian. A prince has to limit his exposure to maintain an aura of power and rarity.
Okay, so let's get to the ultimate strategy for this kind of emotional freedom, just refusing to run the race for external validation. The idea that the one who does not compete has already won.
Modern life is just one constant, exhausting competition for metrics, praise, followers, status. The second you agree to play that game for external approval, you've handed over your peace of mind to rules you can't control.
So by refusing the race, you win your freedom, no matter what anyone else is doing. Your victory is internal.